Look at the weather.
It's beautiful here.
Non-stop rain.
Oh, man, it is a blazer out there.
It's cold and it's shivery.
It is cold.
Really coming down here.
I really enjoy your weather reports.
From the All Indiana Podcast Network, we're talking weather in a whole new way. From historical events to what's coming up, plus weather news, science, safety, fun facts, and more.
I like where this is going.
This is Weather Weekly. Weather Weekly with Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Marcus Bailey.
Episode 101. Good to be with you. Starting off on another streak here right after episode 100. Good to be with you here for the middle of December. I am Storm Track 8 meteorologist Marcus Bailey, and man, I am sick and tired of cloud cover. I think probably a lot of you are too. We're on a streak here. Now, I'm recording this on Monday, the 12th, and on my drive home, there were some rays of sunshine. So I don't think it'll be classified as completely overcast, but it's still a very kind of gloomy day. Not as dark and gloomy as the last 6 days in a row. 6 days of completely overcast conditions here in central Indiana. So good to see even just a few rays of sunshine here throughout the area here to kick off the week. We may get a little bit more. We'll talk about that in the forecast. I don't think we're going to get a lot. Pretty active weather pattern we're going to be kind of settling into and potentially turning colder too. And we kind of previewed that at the end of the podcast last week. That forecast hasn't changed a whole lot. So we'll give you an update here at the end of the podcast. Since we're running a little bit behind, I did want to hit up on one, a look back at the month of November, and officially now we're in meteorological winter. So I'm going to briefly kind of touch on how the fall kind of played out. And then, of course, look at, like we usually do, some interesting weather events that happened during the month of December. So I know typically we do that at the beginning of the month, but had a couple of other things that we wanted to get to. So we're running a little bit behind on that, but still want to kind of mention that. So we'll bring that back up. That's coming up next here on Weather Weekly.
Audible's romance collection has something to satisfy every side of you. When it comes to what kind of romance you're into, you don't have to choose just one. Fancy a dalliance with a duke, or maybe a steamy billionaire. You could find a book boyfriend in the city and another one tearing it up on the hockey field. And if nothing on this earth satisfies, you can always find love in another realm. Discover modern rom-coms from authors like Lily Chu and Ali Hazelwood, the latest romantasy series from Sarah J. Maas and Rebecca Yarros, plus Regency favorites like Bridgerton and Outlander. And of course, all the really steamy stuff. Your first great love story is free when you sign up for a free 30-day trial at audible.com/Wondery. That's audible.com/Wondery.
Episode number 101, good to be with you here. And what we typically do in the beginning of the month, we're kind of delaying it here, so we're already halfway through the month of December, but did want to kind of hit up on a few things. First, look back to November and the fall, because December 1st marks the beginning of meteorological winter. And then we'll look at we'll look ahead to some interesting things that have happened for the month of December. All right, so let's see. First, month of November, the average temp was 44.4. Again, that's factoring in all the highs and the lows. The normal November temperature, 43.3. So we're on the plus side of 1.1 degree. That is good for 45th warmest. Precipitation, we ran really dry again, 1.42 inches of rainfall. The average is precipitation, because we do get some snow. 3.45 is where we should be. That is down 2.03 inches. It is tied for the 19th driest on record. What's interesting is, and I'm going to give you the fall numbers here. But October was dry and September was dry, but really what kind of put the nail in the coffin here for us was this past month. November was just really, really dry. We picked up the exact same amount of precipitation in October as we did last month. The difference is November is slightly more wet than October. So in October, for example, we were down 1.8 inches, and for November, we were down 2.03. So for the fall, and again, this factors in September, October, November. All right, meteorological fall, not calendar fall. Just this keeps all the records nice and organized. Average fall temperature 55.7 degrees. Normal is 55.6. So we're down a tenth or up a tenth. So that puts us kind of right in the middle. Nothing significant there. Precip is where we took the hit. 4.96. We were just shy of 5 inches of rainfall, or precip, I should say. Normal fall should be around 9.81. We were at a deficit of 4.85 inches of rainfall. So 58th warmest. And I mentioned we were kind of in the middle of the road there. Precipitation 6th driest. So it was pretty extraordinary when it came to the lack of precipitation. Just some other interesting stats here. Highs greater than 70 degrees. We had 41 for the fall. That's 3 more than average. And lows less than or equal to 40 degrees. We did 28 of those, and that is down 5. The average normal fall, we should be around 33 of those days. So there you go. All right. While I'm looking at the sheet, I'll go ahead and mention it, and I'm hoping that we'll get more in depth. But the winter 22-23 outlook for Central Indiana winter outlook from the Climate Prediction Center indicates equal chances for above, below, or near normal temperatures across Central Indiana. The outlook also indicates slightly greater chances for above normal winter precipitation across the region. At Indy, the normal winter temperature is 31.5 degrees, and the normal winter precipitation is 8.47 inches. Now, again, that's liquid equivalent, not factoring in the snow. So we'll get into that. And I mean, it doesn't tell you much with the temperature. I mean, it's equal that it could go above, middle, or below. But it does look like we're going to get some signals that we're going to have maybe a wetter and potentially, depending on temperature, could lead to a snowier winter. So we'll talk more about that a little bit later, probably after the holidays here. All right, let's go ahead and look ahead to the month of December. Some interesting stats for you, and we'll go down by date. Obviously, we're already in the middle of the month, so some of these have already passed in terms of anniversaries. On the 1st, 2006, a strong area of low pressure brings wind gusts over 50 miles per hour across central Indiana, bringing down power lines at some locations. Let's see. In 2010, on the 4th, a winter storm brings up to 7 inches of snow to portions of western and southern portions of the state. On the 5th, 2013, a winter storm on the 5th into the 6th brings up to a foot of snow in southern parts of central Indiana, along with some ice. In 1998, on the 6th, several sites set record temperatures for this date. Late in the evening, a line of severe thunderstorms just ahead of a strong cold front moves across central Indiana, downing trees and power lines across several counties. In 1979, on the 7th, strong winds collapsed part of a warehouse under construction near Indianapolis. In 2004, also on the 7th, an F0 tornado touches down near Sandusky in Decatur County. In 1995, on the 8th, snowfall of 2 to 4 inches causes numerous car accidents. Arctic air arrives after the snow and brings sub-zero temperatures. In 2005, on the 8th, a winter storm brings 4 to 8 inches of snow to central Indiana. The storm's poor timing causes major traffic issues in the Indianapolis area, causing some to abandon their cars after running out of fuel. So I can tell you a quick story about this here. So I had just started working at the time, it was called Entercom radio. So that back then it was WZPL 99.5, WXNT, which then was an AM talk station. Now it's sports talk. That's 1340, and then 107.9, which back then was the track. I'm not sure exactly what that is now. And I believe they're under Cumulus. I could be wrong, but then it was Entercom. Anyway, they are positioned, or what they were, they're not anymore, on the north side of Indianapolis. It was just south of, well, I guess I should say it was just north of 86th and Meridian. It was on Meridian, on some office buildings on the east side of Meridian. And I was living in Fishers at the time. It was an apartment complex off 116th Street. And that drive typically took me maybe 15 minutes or so. It wasn't like a real long drive. But I was a little worried. They wanted me to come in, knowing my meteorological background. They wanted me to come in and, give some updates and stuff like that. I am not kidding you when I said, and I think I was working like the late afternoon into the evening shift when I worked there. I was a part-timer. I did some news. I board opped, that kind of stuff. And this is right out of college. So I remember leaving and I'm like, well, I'm going to get there in plenty of time. And I'm not kidding, because that snow hit at such a poor time. I think I needed to be at work by like 4, and I ended up leaving at like 1. And I think a lot of people bailed because, they knew the snow was coming. It was gridlock. It was gridlock from the minute I hit 96th Street. I think I dumped off at 96th and was just trying to take back ways, but 96th was completely blocked off, like nobody can move. I ended up taking me like 3 hours to end up getting to work on what was typically like a 15-minute drive. So it was nuts. But yes, I distinctly remember that one. 4 to 8 inches of snow, but it was an awful, awful, awful evening drive. Let's see. 1971 on the 10th, numerous severe thunderstorms move across central Indiana, damaging homes and businesses. 3 airplanes are blown over at the Monroe County Airport. In 1967 on the 11th, tornadoes in Davies and Knox counties destroy a house trailer and damage several farm buildings. In 1977 on the 12th in Indianapolis, the record snow depth for the date is set at 8 inches. Seems like it's been so long since we've had that kind of snow for the month of December. 1987 on the 15th, high wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour in the north and central parts of the state. 1981 on the 17th, 8 inches of snow fall in Monroe and Brown counties, with 4 to 7 inches elsewhere across central Indiana. In 1995 on the 18th, freezing rain falls across parts of the area, causing over 65,000 homes to be without power at one point due to downed power lines. 1973 on the 19th, heavy snow falls over the entire state on the 19th and 20th, with over 1 foot over much of northern Indiana. 17 inches falls in Lafayette. 1995 on the 20th, heavy snow of 6 to 10 inches on the 19th and 20th fall across central and northeast Indiana, assuring a white Christmas. 1988, 21st, strong winds of 50 to 70 miles per hour at Indianapolis topple a 20-foot high masonry wall under construction. 1989, on the 22nd, Indianapolis records its coldest temperature ever recorded in December at minus 23 degrees. 2013, on the 22nd, heavy rain fell on the 20th through the 21st, causing flooding. Flash flooding occurred into the 22nd when multiple water rescues were performed during the early morning hours. 2004, 23rd, at Seymour, 2 back-to-back snowstorms bring a 2-day total of 29 inches of snow. Much of southeast Indiana sees over a foot of snow. 2015, at Noblesville, an EF1 tornado caused $50,000 in damage. 1983 on the 24th, bitter cold temperatures occur across central Indiana during the last half of the month, setting several temperature records, including a record low for December 24th at Indianapolis of minus 17 degrees. 1983, Christmas Day at Indianapolis, the coldest temperature on record for Christmas Day is recorded at 15 degrees. 2002 on Christmas Day, a winter storm brings 6 to 9 inches of snow on Christmas Eve into Christmas Day. I remember that one. 2012, a winter storm brings blizzard conditions to much of central Indiana. 6 inches to a foot of snow are common amounts, with wind gusts around 40 miles per hour. 1988 on the 27th, heavy snow accumulates 4 to 8 inches across central Indiana on the 27th into the 28th. In 1990 on the 28th, on the 28th to the 31st, heavy snow combined with snow melt produces significant flooding over much of the state. 1981 on the 29th, 4 to 7 inches of snow fell across Howard and Carroll counties. In 1973 on the 30th, from the 30th to the 31st, 7 to 12 inches of snow falls over central and northeastern Indiana. And in 1876, on New Year's Eve at Indianapolis, 1876 becomes the wettest year on record, with a grand total of 57.65 inches of precipitation. We won't be anywhere near that this year, I can assure you. especially because of this last 3 months, with it being the 6th driest fall on record. So some interesting stuff, a lot of heavy duty snow records, although there's been some severe weather. And when we were talking to Steven last podcast, I was remembering, I think back into 2015, it wasn't a tornado outbreak, but I remember covering a severe weather, may have been the day after Christmas or a couple of days after Christmas. But there was a tornado down not too far away from me, south of Indianapolis. Very weak EF0, but it did do some power line damage and that kind of stuff. So, I mean, you can get your severe weather also in the month of December, but usually you're kind of flipping the switch just a little bit, which, by the way, boy, do we flip a switch coming up here later this week. Some really, really cold temperatures. We'll have that forecast coming up next here on Weather Weekly. Here's a look at your forecast for the week of December 12th. It's going to be a busy one here, gang. Obviously, this is going to be released during the middle of the week here, and Wednesday is going to be a big day of change, all right? So the day of this being released, rain kind of in the morning, and then another round in the evening, it appears. So kind of a couple of bouts. It's that second one that's going to kind of usher in some of the changes on the back end of a low that's going to be coming in from the Gulf. And so it brings widespread rain to the area. And on the back end, you're going to get some colder air wrapping in behind. So you're looking, at 50s here for Wednesday, but mid 40s on Thursday. And I think those numbers are going to kind of decline. And then I think it's 30s and maybe even getting colder as we head into next week as well. And with that low kind of hanging out, so what's going to end up happening here, if I can give it to you in a audio sense, since I can't do it obviously visually over a podcast, this second low that comes in for Wednesday night into Thursday is going to kind of float to our north and kind of hang out around Wisconsin, southern Wisconsin, and northern Illinois. And so with it in the neighborhood, again, it brings down the cold air. It's going to bring a lot of cloud cover, right? That's been the trend. And I think, too, with that close by, it's going to agitate the atmosphere enough. You're going to get some of these waves of precip, and we're going to be cold enough, I think, especially Friday, Saturday, both days, that we're going to have some scattered snow showers. Now, it doesn't look like we're going to get anything accumulating. You could get maybe a quick little dusting here and there. But in terms of significant accumulation, I'm not overly concerned at this point. We'll keep an eye on that, but it doesn't look like it's going to be a widespread issue. You could have some isolated bursts in some locations, so we'll watch for that. But in terms of widespread snow, no, I don't think that's in play for us. What does look to be common here as we go into the holiday week next week, kids are out of school, it's going to turn cold. Highs may be maintaining around 30. In fact, I think as we get a little bit closer to the actual holiday weekend in itself, by mid to late week, so really Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I think we may only have highs into the mid 20s. So it gets pretty cold. It gets pretty cold here. One particular model is saying Christmas Eve day highs only into the mid teens, and we could have lows near zero. Now, again, that's just one model. I mean, it's an ensemble, and then highs on Christmas Day struggling to get to 20, and again, single digit morning lows. So pretty cold stuff. That's the GFS. The European ensemble doesn't go out that far. So, I mean, obviously it's not a slam dunk, but I will say that there are some signs and some hints that there's some signs that we may, or that we are going to be turning colder. Again, too early to talk about snow, and we'll probably spend next week's podcast, we'll talk about the stats on a white Christmas, how frequently that happens, and if we have a decent shot, because obviously we'll be within a week, so we'll be able to talk about that. It's just this far out, it's so tough to gauge. You can look at some of the ensemble outputs, but I mean, it's tough. It's tough, but I will say, if you are somebody that likes a white Christmas, you've got one ingredient, it looks like, that's pretty consistent in a lot of the model runs, and that is cold. And it's going to be really cold. So any even minor chance of precipitation is going to be easily snow. And with it being as cold for as long as we're anticipating here, like I said, we're going to be seeing highs, maybe not getting above freezing over a week out from Christmas. So your ground's going to be plenty cold enough, even if you get a little bit of snow, that it's going to stick. So not going to completely write it off. But again, stay tuned for next week. We will talk about that in next week's podcast episode as we gear up for the holiday. All right. You guys have a great week. Thank you so much for tuning into episode 101 and for any of the 100 that you were hanging out with us prior as well. Always love to hear your feedback, what you'd like to hear, what you like, what you don't like. Email me anytime, marcus.bailey@wishtv.com, and you can reach out on social media as well. On Facebook, it's Marcus Bailey Weather, if you search for that. And then on Twitter and Instagram, it's @Marcus Bailey. Hope you can catch the next podcast, 102, next week as we gear up for the big holiday weekend and holiday week. And while you're here, make sure to check out all the other great podcasts, all part of the All Indiana Podcast Network. Have a wonderful week. Take care, and God bless.
Discover more from Storm Track 8 Weather and Wish TV. Online at wishtv.com and when you follow Wish TV on Facebook. Plus, be sure to check out more great podcasts from the All Indiana Podcast Network now at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.